Right, I'm going to start off by telling everyone I have absolutely no medical qualifications whatsoever. I'm just a humble writer who has read a lot and who has had some experience with medical matters simply by having lived a fair amount of time and experienced various things that have happened to me and other people. That doesn't make me knowledgeable. It does, however, I think, qualify me at least to speculate. I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. So first of all, I want to tell you I'm going to be playing a clip from Talk TV. I'll leave a link in the description. But I'm not going to play the sound because I'm a little bit worried about copyright. Sorry about that. I'm just a bit worried about, Talk TV is a corporation and they might have copyright on this. First of all, Mike Graham goes through a whole list of things that he perceives as the Labour Party at least obfuscating about what they're doing, about Lord Ali and donations. Labour appointed a climate envoy who's called Rachel Kite, who sits on the advisory board of Quadrature, a climate foundation set up by Quadrature Capital. And Quadrature, who have this really nice page here, investment management. That's what they call themselves, which means it's just about everything that the Labour Party is not supposed to stand for. OK, so let's go on. A climate foundation set up by Quadrature Capital, a company that gave £4 million to Labour just before the election. So it was just before the election, and I'm assuming there are very strict rules about finances during elections. But if they gave that £4 million before those rules kicked in, when the election campaign officially started, then they didn't have to declare it. On the other hand, that's a substantial contribution, is it not? And somebody might have mentioned it. All right, let's carry on. And so he says, their company, who would appear to go against every principle the Labour Party has, if they have any principles. I'm going to go forward a bit, another 10 seconds, I think. Yeah, 3:58 it says here. Oh, yeah, he says then he gets very angry about Starmer filming his tribute to the late Queen, again from Lord Ali's flat. Now, he was supposed to be in his own home, and I think what happened was this. He'd made one video from Ali's flat during lockdown in which he was telling people to stay home, so the implication was that that flat was his. And then after that, he had to keep on using that flat because otherwise people would notice it was a different place. That's just my guess. I'm not saying that's the truth. It's just what I think. That's a possible reason why he kept on using Lord Ali's flat. And then, as I said, they were talking about Quadrature. But after that, Isabel Oakeshott said something that made me think maybe I should make this video after all, even though I'd been very reticent about this sort of speculation. So Elizabeth Oakeshott said, I think there's something bigger going on. And it's annoying because I don't know what it is. And I know that the lobby of political journalists I think she must have said Westminster there. And the lobby of political journalists at Westminster feel the same. So apparently there's sort of rumblings going around among the journalists in Westminster that there's something wrong somewhere. All of us instinctively feel there's some big fact here that we're not being made. And then Mike Graham says, I'm going to ask the question because nobody else will. Is it a sex thing? And then Oakeshott says, there have long been rumours about... That's a strange caption there. It's Keir Starmer's private life. And that's absolutely what she said. There have long been rumours about Keir Starmer's private life, and they certainly aren't to do with any kind of doubts over his sexuality. So that's what Oakeshott says. There's been no doubts about Keir Starmer's sexuality. His relationship with Lord Ali is not a sexual one. That's not what any of the rumours are about. And then she says, if I can put it delicately, they are to do with his past and what the shape of his family really looks like. Well, that's what Isabel Oakeshott said, that there are sort of frothing rumours going around Westminster about something wrong with Keir Starmer, and she thinks it's to do with his family. I have another idea. And it's to do with my observations of Keir Starmer's behaviour. I have to again say, I don't see the man close up, ever. I've never met him. I've never been around him. I don't know what he was like before he became Prime Minister. I have no idea what he's like after he's Prime Minister on a personal level. I'm just talking about what I see in the media. He has a rigidity of mind which really puzzled me. He appears not to be able to deal with new situations. For instance, when he went to lay that wreath in Southport and some of the crowd were heckling him, he didn't respond. He just walked straight off. He couldn't engage with the crowd. I've said this before. He appears not to be able to think on his feet. And he has very rigid ideas. He constantly repeats the same things, right-wing thugs. I thought that was a sort of a propaganda push. But I'm starting to think now that it's his mind. He has this formula and he was just trotting out the formula. And then he made that sausages slip.
Ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the sausages, the hostages, and a recommitment to the two-state solution.
Now, there's no way you can read off an autocue the word hostages and come up with sausages. Not unless there's something going wrong with your brain. And I have personal experience of living with somebody who had something going wrong with their brain. And that was my mother, who was developing Lewy body dementia for many years before it was officially diagnosed. Actually, I diagnosed it before the doctors did. But then I'm not giving myself any particular kudos. I do research, and I was actually in close contact with the woman. The doctors only saw her when she shuffled in to their office surgery every so often. So I'm not too much blaming the doctors. She was very high functioning, even with this disability, until a certain point when everything tipped over and she became incapable. But what I did notice to start with was a sort of rigidity of thought, and it got more and more rigid, an inability to deal with new situations, which got more and more obvious. And again, I just put it down to, old age and tiredness. But then she started making mistakes with words. And I realised there was something wrong. She kept losing words. She kept substituting words. It was sort of interesting. There was one particular example when she was already quite far gone. She'd been in the hospital and she had to wait for the bus service to take her back home. And she said she told me they let her out and they put her in a waiting room. She got that all right. And then she said, I had to wait a long time for Wallace Arnold. Now, some of you might know what Wallace Arnold was. It used to be a bus company. They did tour buses. They ran those sort of things where a whole load of people get on a bus and get taken to various holiday destinations and sightseeing trips and that sort of thing. She'd forgotten the word bus and she'd substituted the next thing that came up, which was Wallace Arnold, which I thought was quite ingenious of her, considering the deterioration of her brain. But it was that sort of thing, and it became more and more, talking to her became more and more like a sort of code-breaking exercise. So, yeah, that's when that sausages mistake came up. I thought there's just no way you can read hostages and actually what comes out is sausages. And that's when I started to put that together with the rigidity of his thinking. So I'm not saying that's what I think for sure. I'm just saying I've noticed a correlation here. And when Elizabeth Oakeshott spoke about a secret that's going around Westminster that nobody's talking about, that occurred to me. And I did think, should I say anything about it? And then I decided, why not? America set the bar for putting somebody mentally defective in the White House. Why shouldn't Britain follow suit? Okay, well, that's my completely uneducated speculation. That's all it is, just speculation and a little story from my own experience. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.